Engaging citizens. A game changer for development? Improving service delivery in the water sector. Maji Voice.
Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company Limited, a company which was formed in 2005 to serve the residents of Nairobi County and its environments, an average of 4.5 million people during the day, and I take charge of complaints and business development in the company. We initially had a system which was helping us to track complaints resolution in the company, known as CMS. The system had a number of issues, and when Maji Voice came into place in 2013, we have a system which is able to record, classify the complaint, and track the resolution per individual along the chain, and enabling us, therefore, to be able to improve on the speed or turnaround time of resolution of complaints, versus also getting to understand the nature of complaints which come from our customers. Ever since we started using Maji Voice in 2013, we have received 113,000 complaints, which turns to be an average of 250 complaints per day. We have been able to resolve 110,000 of those complaints, and the turnaround time has been quite encouraging. Initially, the system gave us an indication that our capturing of turnaround time in solution of complaint was very low. It started with around an average of 15%, and as I speak today, we are dealing with an average of 45%, and our target is to reach 80% by June 2016. We have had our staff embrace the system. We came up with a program to be able to use the staff to develop the system, improve on it, work around the clock, and ensure that it is able to serve the needs of the users, who are our customer care staff and other staff in the company. The system has undergone a lot of improvements. We've been able to work very closely and ensure that it is very interactive, get real-time feedback from the customers, monitor our turnaround time in complaint solution, motivate our staff through performance-based appraisal based on the number of complaints one handles and the timelines used. And we have realized that it is very motivational, and our staff are able to embrace, because it is a very objective way of assessing our performance. Maji Voice system, at the time of inception, we had to look at our strengths, our weaknesses, and our opportunities as a company. And with the support of our top management, we've been able to push and ensure that the system works. It has not been easy. We had to talk to all the stakeholders, support from the various departments, support from the various regions, and support from the various zones is critical, so that we are able to increase the customer satisfaction index, which is our core value.
My name is Alice Jenga. I'm in customer care in Kamiri office. I've worked for this company for 4 years now, and we are able to see the customers' complaints when we are using Maji Voice. In the initial times, we used to use paperwork, and papers used to get lost, so we were not able to track the customer complaints. But now that we are using Maji Voice, we are able to see how the customers are reacting to their complaints, and we can even be able to tell them that their complaints have been resolved. As customer care, we are able to trace the customer complaints. The Maji Voice is easy to use because as the customer comes, we capture the complaint, and when we send it to the next person, we are able to know whether they are acting on it fast and how far it has really gone. Maji Voice has really eased our work as customer care staff because we are able to track the complaints.
My role in Maji Voice was to lead a team of software developers in developing a customized complaints feedback management system for the Kenya Water Utility. We did this with the help of the World Bank and working with the Kenya Water Sector Regulator, that's WASREB. How Maji Voice began basically was we had to first get to know what challenges these utilities were having in the country. And so we began by doing a baseline study We went to around 10 water companies in the country, worked with the staff to understand the challenges they were having. We documented all this, and then we sat down and we began working on a system that would work for them. Maji Voice is a grievance redress system, and it's designed to work at 3 basic levels. So the first level, we have the customer, and the customer needs to be able to submit their complaints easily and also track those complaints and know where they are at, and also know when they are resolved. At the utility level, the utility is able to manage all these complaints as they come in, pass on all those complaints to the relevant stakeholders in the utility to address to, and give feedback quickly to their customers. Then we have the regulator, and now the regulator's role is to get to know exactly what's happening in these utilities, and if these utilities are compliant to their service level agreements with their customers. So I think Maji Voice has been an exciting project. It is an exciting project because for us we've been learning a lot, and secondly, working with these utilities, we've been able to see real benefits. The customers are getting their complaints resolved much faster. The utility is able to handle these complaints in a more efficient and organized way, and the regulator also is able to know exactly what's happening at these utilities.
The World Bank Water Global Practice played a key role in making Maji Voice a success, and we did so in 3 ways. Firstly, we provided the initial idea, and we brought all the stakeholders from the utility to the water sector regulator together to make this a collaborative effort from the beginning. Secondly, throughout the process, we provided quality control and inputs. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, we absorbed the financial cost of developing this solution from scratch and really customize it to the needs of our partners. We did this because we perceived there to be a real need in Kenya, in the public sector, in the water sector, and even beyond it, for enterprises that are managing hundreds of thousands of accounts, that are serving millions of customers, to have an efficient system to manage, to process and track the incoming complaints. There is 2 reasons why we decided to develop Maji Voice as a new solution: cost and the ability to customize to the particular situation here. Firstly, on cost, there are existing solutions for grievance redress mechanisms on the market, but these are generally quite expensive. If you look at what is available commercially, in general, these will charge utilities or other companies between $30 to $60 per user per month, which in the case of Nairobi Water would work out to annual costs of around $150,000. That is, in general, more than utilities, especially in developing countries, are willing or able to pay. So by developing something from scratch, we were able to offer it at 0 usage fees, thus making it much more attractive for utilities to actually adopt it in practice. Secondly, by developing something from scratch, we had the ability and opportunity to really customize the solution from the start. Very specifically, that means being able to have a local support team that integrates the software with other systems that utilities have, such as their metering systems or billing systems, thus making complaint processing more efficient. And on the other hand, we could build a system that accommodates not just the utility, but brings in the regulator. For instance, so in Maji Voice, the regulator has direct access to the solution as well through a specialized dashboard, which allows the regulator to supervise utilities and supervise their customer care performance. In this age of universal mobile phone access, it's sort of a very attractive proposition to say that, well, complaints will be now, customers can submit them by mobile phone, by SMS, through the internet. Now, interestingly, what we found in Maji Voice is that even though everybody in Kenya has a mobile phone, only few complaints really get submitted by mobile phone. Now, that has a variety of reasons. Perhaps the 2 most important are that, firstly, if you have an urgent issue, no water or leak, you just prefer to speak to a customer care agent. And secondly, it's also that to complain by mobile phone, you need to know the number or the web address. So oftentimes it's just easier to seek out a service center. So I think that experience holds 2 important sort of takeaways. The first is that if you develop a grievance redress mechanism, don't rely solely on this idea of mobile phone submission. You need to tap into the existing channels. So in the case of Maji Voice, that means that we made sure that In customer care centers, all the customer care agents also enter complaints into Maji Voice so that it all ends up in the same database. And now, if you look at the statistics, you find that about 95% of all the complaints still come through customer care service centers and the hotline. And about 5% come through digital means, though it's a growing percentage. So in short, make sure that you tap into existing channels of complaints if you design a new grievance redress mechanism. A second takeaway is that you should really be creative in using mobile phones. Mobile phones are not only useful for submission of complaints, but have many uses in a grievance redress mechanism. So for instance, in the case of Maji Voice, we use mobile phones to send ticket numbers. So even if you go to a customer care center to complain, you will still get a ticket number through your mobile phone. So that makes it very easy to give a reference number to customers that they can't lose. And that in itself is empowering to a customer. And then they can use that to, check the complaint status, either by themselves or by coming back to the customer care center. We also use mobile phones to send reminders to staff. So every staff member gets in the morning an SMS saying, you have 5 tasks on your dashboard, please address them. So that is another creative use of mobile phones. And of course, you can use mobile phones to give staff access to the system. So for instance, when meter readers go and check up on a meter complaint in Maji Voice, they can do so on their company-issued mobile phones and basically, process that complaint, close it, or give feedback on it immediately in the field. So I think, we found that mobile phones can be a very important aspect to a grievance redress mechanism, but you have to be creative around how you use them. And in terms of this idea that, complaints are submitted through mobile phones, you will need a publicity effort and some patience to see it pick up. A key partner for us has been the Water Services Regulatory Board of Kenya, the sector regulator who is responsible for consumer protection and making sure that utilities perform adequately. Their participation has really turned Maji Voice from a normal grievance redress mechanism into a real accountability tool with an accountability chain that ranges from the consumers over management all the way to the actual regulator. So in practice, that means that if a complaint is submitted, then consumers can track this complaint using the unique reference number. Within the utility, management can monitor all the complaints. But then above management, in addition, you have the regulator who has direct access to the aggregate statistics of all the utilities and thus is able to monitor the performance in terms of customer service of the utilities. Staff buy-in is really absolutely critical to make a grievance redress mechanism work. And it's critical at every level, from complaint entry to, that staff are actually actively using it to process complaints. And also for management to actively look at the statistics the system yields to see where complaints accumulate and what that tells about the processes of a utility. So you'll never get the full potential for a grievance redress mechanism without staff buy-in. You should not treat a grievance redress mechanism as a sort of one-off tool that is rolled out and then, in place, but that it's basically treated as a continuous process of improvement for utilities at the utility level and, even involving other stakeholders such as the regulator in the case of Maji Voice. I think Maji Voice has shown that a modern customer, feedback system, a grievance redress mechanism can really make a difference in the operational efficiency of public utilities. And we hope that the example of Maji Voice will lead to much wider use of such systems across sectors, across countries and projects.